Let me start by saying this. We went in depth prior to the big fight this weekend on Overpromised, our bonus podcast. So it was fun to look back to see where we were wrong, where we were right. Overpromised on Fox Sports Radio's YouTube page. Search COVINO RICH Overpromised and enjoy. We also talked about Rich and his softball adventures, like vouching for a buddy to play sports with. What if he steps up? What if he fizzles? What if he disappoints? Again, that's on Overpromised.
So many layers.
Now, there's so many layers to get to on this show today. Between NBA, we have last one standing, some trivia, but we got to talk about the fight.
Yeah, but, dude, it's also draft week.
There's so much to get to. Don't overpromise.
Draft week.
Don't overpromise.
Yeah. Draft week. The fight was everything you could possibly have wanted. It really was. And you know what? I'm not saying your analysis is wrong, because you are the guy that I know that knows the most about boxing. But even Shakur Stevenson.
That's what makes it shocking.
And other boxers in that division and out of that division were all saying, Ryan Garcia looks so unfocused. This guy's drinking and drugging and partying and worrying about all the wrong things. He's on social media. The guy's lost his mind. There was a sentiment that Ryan Garcia was going to come into this fight, and it went up to a minus 900. He was an underdog to the point of, if you thought Haney would win, you weren't even going to bet it because it was minus 900. You had to bet 900 to win 100.
Let's make it clear. He called out a lot of people at the end of the fight. Big upset this weekend. Ryan Garcia wins, as you guys know. Unanimous decision. He said, F the haters. People hate on him because he's too pretty, a la Muhammad Ali. That's not me. I root for Ryan Garcia. I just didn't believe in him in this fight. My theory was this. There's a point in life all the time where hard work starts to overcome raw talent. Because they were even through the amateurs and coming up. So I said, I think we're finally going to see the hard work overcome. Because I think that Haney's discipline put him over the edge here, and Ryan wasn't taking it serious. Seemed unhinged. But guess what? The raw talent and that deadly left hook still trumped hard work. So the working man is a sucker.
Ryan Garcia, from round one, when he connected,
shocked Haney. And as Bill Haney said, he doesn't think his son ever recovered from that.
Yeah. He said he was more shocked than hurt, and that alone could throw off your game plan for the rest of the fight. And you know what it makes me want? Danny G, we were at the first one, but after seeing Ryan Garcia put that whooping on Devin Haney, you don't want to see him go back at it with Tank Davis? You don't think Ryan Garcia wants shot two against Tank?
Wait, though. Tank is 135.
I know, he's a little light.
He had that hydration clause last time, which is why we got an emaciated, depleted, dehydrated Garcia in the first place. Garcia's talking about going 154.
If you don't know what the hydration clause is, because I never knew this myself, a lot of times they'll do the weigh-in, and then after the weigh-in, these guys gain a ton of weight back. Haney and Garcia, he didn't even make weight. When he fought Tank Davis, he told Ryan Garcia, you have to drop weight for the weigh-in, but then you can't even gain that weight back for the fight. So Ryan Garcia, not making excuses, he's like, I went into that fight with Tank Davis a year ago feeling emaciated, weak, not hydrated, and now I wonder, is
he had
Tank
a 10-pound hydration clause in his last fight where he lost, or his last loss, I should say, his first loss against Tank Davis, meaning if he weighed in at 135 or 140, he can only be 10 pounds heavier than that. I forget which weight they fought.
I'm telling you right now.
Oh, they fought at a catch weight of 136.
I'm telling you right now, if Tank Davis is the undefeated champion that seems really unstoppable, wanted to challenge himself. You've seen Canelo and other guys go up a weight class or not worry about this. If Tank Davis really wanted to show that he's the G, he's the man, he would fight Ryan Garcia again with no weight clause and no hydration clause or anything like that, because I would love to see a fully functional Ryan Garcia against Tank Davis after what we saw on Saturday.
There's so many questions now that people are asking. We want to know your takeaways from the fight, what we learned. I'll tell you what I learned. But based on this past weekend, it went from, Ryan Garcia's a clown. Oh, man, look at this guy. He's bad for boxing. He lost it. He's unhinged to, yo, man, he's the guy. He's the face of boxing. Yo, he's the dude at 140. It was like a full-on, and that's sports in a nutshell. Everybody hates you one week, everybody loves you the next. And
Do you mean the life of a quarterback in the
Yes.
NFL?
Yes. The fickle sports fan switches like that based on performance.
Do you remember in the beginning of this past NFL season, people were saying that the Chiefs are done? They won another Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Remember when people said in the
The
NBA?
beginning. How about the Raiders torched them on Christmas, and
people-
after that, people were like, "These aren't the same Chiefs."
We go
in the
with
NBA.
the wind. Wherever the wind blows, that's how our opinion's based.
The NBA, when before the Warriors came back and won their final one as a core, injury set them back for a little while, and people are like, oh, they're done. We love to count people out and say they suck.
And I think, there needs to be accountability. And I'm taking mine saying that I really thought hard work would prevail. But, again, I never hated on Garcia. I think there's a lot of people that hated on him. Guys like Timothy Bradley, Paulie Malignaggi. And, again, that's what they get paid to do, give their opinions. But they were like, I'll quit boxing if Garcia wins this fight, because I don't see it happening.
Let me tell you.
If it happens, then I don't know anything about the fight game. Like Timothy Bradley was saying stuff like that. So a lot of people owe this kid an apology, but here's what I learned, okay? I learned that Garcia proved he's the guy. He is the face of boxing because he crosses into a mainstream of pop culture where a lot of people were talking about this fight. A lot of pay-per-views, a lot of eyes on this fight. He is the guy, and he shocked the world, including me. I was wrong, but I'm glad I was wrong. I like Garcia. But I also learned that Haney proved to be a warrior. They both proved something. Haney proved he's a warrior, and he won me over as a fan moving forward. Yeah, he got whooped, but I kind of felt bad for him, and I believe he's a great fighter. Just Ryan Garcia bigger and stronger, and that weight advantage may have played a huge part in this. He said, why am I going to force myself to fight at 140? I'm here for the win, not the belt. And maybe that paid huge dividends here in the outcome.
Well, if you watch a fight over the weekend, we'd love your thoughts at 877-99 on Fox. We will get to NBA. We'll get to some NFL, baseball. I made a great decision over the weekend. I'll explain. But final thoughts on the fight.
I got lots of thoughts on the fight. It was the biggest thing going this weekend. I mean, aside from the NBA, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from my eyes watching, and ears, more importantly, everyone seemed to be against Ryan Garcia. The announcers wouldn't give him any credit early on.
I mean, look, you lie in the bed you make. He wasn't exactly likable leading up to this fight.
Hold on,
He's been trolling everybody.
They are broadcasters. I thought the referee unnecessarily took a point away from Garcia. He wouldn't take a point away from Haney. And then during those knockdowns, two of them, he was like, no, not a knockdown. He slipped.
Not only that, he gave extended counts to Haney, and he pushed Ryan Garcia away at one point.
Dude, I thought
giving
the refs,
Haney more time. His name's Harvey Dock, by the way, the referee.
Yeah, that was trending on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was a horrible. When you're talking about the referee or the umpire, the official, they're doing something wrong.
when you know their name.
Yeah, you're not supposed to know these
We
guys.
know Angel Hernandez for a reason.
Exactly.
So I'm just saying, I felt like everyone from the announcers to the ref all seemed to be like, when you think of a court case, if the defendant looks like an a-hole and looks like a piece of trash, it's in the jury's mind, sadly, like, we don't like this guy. Like, you're not supposed to be that way because you're supposed to, be unbiased. But I feel like everyone going into this fight was like, yeah, I'm done with Ryan Garcia's antics. And I do feel like the announcers, the referee, everyone was sort of like, yeah, I don't really like this guy.
Yeah,
And
well,
you could tell.
You could tell he was trying to sell a fight. He was pulling some Mike Tyson antics, maybe even more outlandish than Tyson in his heyday. But it turns out he was trolling everybody. He still seemed a little unhinged at the end. He's still a bit of a clown. And as De La Hoya said, and De La Hoya knows clowns, De La Hoya said
He also knows fishnets, right?
he needs to tone it down a little bit. But again, he was selling a fight. And Haney's not great at selling a fight. He's just a great fighter. But Garcia proved to be the bigger man and looked like the bigger man. And the side story here is to bet on yourself. Nobody believed in Garcia, including fans like myself. But again, it's what he was putting out there. He didn't seem focused. But he was enough to catch a left and win the fight. But he bet on himself, and that's the lesson here. But he literally bet on himself. He put in a $2 million bet, winning 12, taking home over $50 million this weekend when you count the fight and
his
the
own
winning
personal bet.
Yeah, so lots of observations. And now the question is, too, and we'll take more of your observations at 877-99 on Fox, Garcia, Haney. People are now speculating, well, who are the new four kings in boxing in that division, that 135 to 140, 145. These kids are getting bigger now, so they're gaining weight. Because growing up, when you say the four kings, it was always Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, and Roberto Duran. And they all fought each other, and that's what made it great and made it legendary. Who are the four?
Oh, I thought it was the Macho King, King Haku, King Harley Race, and Vitamin King.
I mean, they're all great. They're all great kings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now it's like, is it Tank, Haney, Teofimo, Garcia? Is Garcia the face of them all? Is he the best? Is Shakur Stevenson in the conversation? What about Pitbull Cruz, who we saw win the 140 belt, just a few weekends ago? So lots of questions, but lots of excitement, and that's what I love about Ryan Garcia and what he brings to the fight game. A lot of people tune in to see this kid because he's a good-looking kid, but he's tough as hell.
Fun, super fun fight to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you, even if you're the casual fan, Ryan Garcia is definitely, he brings it on a level where, again, I told you, I feel like everyone was just against him, and it made me root for him even more.
Yeah, but for fair reason. He's created this image that made him a little bit unlikable. He's been a little outlandish, unhinged. Seemed like he was unraveling, and no one wants to see some kid wasting their talent. But he claims that he was drinking and smoking every night, and he still overcame the hard work and discipline of Haney. So I don't know what you learned from that. Like, again, talent still overcame the hard work here, but I think at some point you got to get serious.
I liked how many eyes were on this fight. I was inside Disneyland Saturday evening, and I saw probably 10 to 12 different guys sitting around on the park benches watching the fight on their phone. And Covino, the last fight we went to, I got my standard pretzel with melted cheese.
Yeah.
Well, I had just got a pretzel and melted cheese, the Mickey Mouse pretzel.
Oh, it's your official fight food.
It is the official fight food because right by the stand, there was a guy on the bench watching the fight, and he leaned his phone to the side and let me watch the last two rounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was eating my Mickey Mouse pretzel with the melted cheese, watching the last two rounds. It was awesome.
Everybody. And social media went nuts with this, too, which was great to see.
Didn't he tell me off the air you feel like you caused maybe a little fight with that guy and his wife? Because him and his wife were on the park bench, and now all of a sudden the guy started hanging with Danny G.
Yeah, I feel like he was in the doghouse. He woke up Sunday morning with some issues because as soon as they got up off the bench when the fight was over and they started walking through Disneyland again, we could hear his wife say, "That was so rude of you to tilt the phone towards a stranger. I was trying to watch that with you."
Imagine Danny G, you started their divorce and broke up their family. Danny G's the reason that this random couple broke up.
I don't know my dad.
Yeah.
Where did it all start?
It's Ryan Garcia's fault.
This bearded
Disney
guy wanted to watch the fight with me. Your mom got all mad about it.
And that was the end.
I ended up watching the fight. We talked about how I was in Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
I got the pay-per-view.
Double baked potatoes?
Watched it with the father-in-law to be.
Sour cream and chives?
Yeah, I made the party around the fight.
Wait, father-in-law to be? You have another announcement?
No, you know what I mean. What else? My girlfriend's dad.
Well, I mean, if you don't put a ring on it, she's not your father-in-law.
I mean, stop spreading rumors. That's Rich Davis, blubber lips over here, starting rumors. But we watched a fight. It was a great night. And again, your observations, 877-99 on Fox. I think this opens up the floodgates again to a lot of great fights because say what you want about Ryan Garcia. He is willing and wants to and is forcing the fights with all of the names I mentioned before. He wants to fight Tank again. He wants to fight Teofimo. He wants to fight Shakur Stevenson. He wants to go up to – he's talking about fighting Terrence Crawford. So he wants to step up and wait. So we'll see what happens. But either way, fighting or boxing, I should say, thanks to the spectacles like Jake Paul and Tyson and all that stuff, it's really bringing a lot of young and excited eyes to the sport because all these kids love Garcia too, or the drama anyway.
It was a really – fun fight to watch. Ryan Garcia would unload, and you'd be like, "Oh, he's going to catch him." Great fight. I think I'll sound like Covino here when I say this, but based on what I've seen, the bloody fight we saw in Vegas a month ago was great. But I think this was fight of the year based on the names involved.
I mean, that's what they're saying.
Fight of the year, and you're the boy that cried. You're the boy that cried wolf. You're
Fight
the boy
of the year candidate.
You're the boy that cried fight of the year. But it might, as of right now, I would say Haney, Garcia.
Were you shocked, Rich, that
Fight of the year.
The unofficial scorecard had it even, and one judge actually had it 112-112?
That judge is an ass clown and should get his license taken away. I'll explain. It's like The same way, like, Angel Hernandez somehow still umpires in Major League Baseball when there's montages of him on Instagram and TikTok of all his blown calls.
It's not somehow.
And
He pulls the race card and he tried to sue the MLB.
Yeah, and the union, and I'm sure the umpire union. There's got to be reasons, right? But the same way Angel Hernandez is trash, yet still, like, he was behind home plate yesterday, Danny G, at the Dodgers-Mets game. Angel Hernandez is employed.
And he takes no accountability. Remember when, and it's sad that we know his name, but Jim Joyce?
Yeah.
When he blew the Galarraga perfect game. You remember, he admitted immediately that he blew the call and he stole this kid's moment. And you just kind of look back and you sort of say, hey, he had a human moment there. You know? It's like, what are you going to do?
I always thought the Jim Joyce call was wild because his instinct was to break up the perfect game instead of keep it intact. Like, you would think the umpire subconsciously,
he thought he saw what he saw and he stood with it.
I feel like subconsciously in that moment, you're like, even me as the umpire, I don't want to be the reason the perfect game's done. And he went the other way. Anyway,
my point is that guy took accountability. Guys like Angel Hernandez, I never heard that dude take accountability once that maybe he blew a call or that he stinks.
For the fight fans out there have been fights where you look at some of the scorecards and you're like, what were they watching? One that comes to mind back in the day was Pacquiao, Timothy Bradley. I like Timothy Bradley, fun fighter, but Pacquiao whooped his ass. And Bradley won.
Yeah.
If you watch this fight over the weekend, I know you only watched 2 rounds or 3 rounds, didn't you, with your new Disney World friend?
With your new best friend.
Before his wife filed for divorce?
I gave him a CNR Swiggy.
He deserved it. He's going to have to cash that in for divorce payments. If you watch this fight, the fact that one of these judges scored it 112, like a draw, there was not one moment where you could be like, well, there's a Haney highlight. This fight was all Ryan Garcia. If you put a montage together of the fun moments, the good moments, they were all Ryan Garcia knocking this guy in his ass, knocking him down multiple times. How could anyone say, well, that fight was even? That guy should be barred. He should be
things
barred.
Differently, man, because I saw Haney have moments. You said he had no moments. He definitely had moments.
You know what it's
he
like?
Definitely won the majority of the rounds in the middle of the fight.
Some people sucking their heads up their ass. Remember that show?
But he just got his ass whooped at the end.
You remember your favorite game show host of all time?
Mine?
Yeah.
Bob Eubanks?
No, I was curious who I thought your favorite host was.
Bob Eubanks. Dude was talking about Whoopi all the time.
Roger Lodge.
Oh, I love Roger Lodge from Blind Date.
Roger Lodge. You'd watch those episodes. I'm taking you back to the 2000s.
Roger Lodge was also a member of Jesse and the Rippers.
That is a fun fact. In Full House, he was one of the extras that was in Jesse and the Rippers.
I know Roger Lodge.
Iowa Sam, do you remember the show Blind Date, or are you a little too young for that? You're in your 30s. Do you remember Blind Date, Iowa Sam?
It was a little before my time.
Dan Byer, do you remember watching Blind Date ever?
It was good.
Yeah, Jay Stu was on it.
No.
That's right.
Yeah,
Jay Stu from the Gottlieb
was.
Show was on it. So the best part about Blind Date, I'm comparing it to a boxing ref that's blind.
It's Jay Stu's wife, by the way, now.
It ended out working well, right? But if you watch Blind Date when you were a younger guy, these couples would go on dates, and then afterwards they would interview them. The guy sometimes would be like, yeah, I was slick. I was cool. I'm the man. She definitely wants a second date. Look at me. I'm so freaking cool. Then they interview the girl, and she's like, oh, my God, he's awful. I never want to see him again. That was the worst date ever. And I would always be like, did this guy not feel it? What was he doing? That's how I feel about the refs, that when you watch a fight, and everyone who does the eye test, you know, they say the eye test a lot in sports. Like, if you watch that fight, there was not 1 minute where you're like, man, Devin Haney's got this. So how could you?
Haney was docked the point. He lost a lot of rounds.
How could you ever look at that fight reasonably?
Harvey docked the point.
I can't imagine anyone watching that fight with clear conscience and a brain saying, "Oh, leave him."
I want to make this clear too. Again, we're going over the observations here. When Garcia got the point taken away, it's because he punched Haney during a break when the referee was trying to break it up. But the referee was trying to break up Haney hugging and holding on to Garcia for his dear life the whole time. And there was never any point taken away for that. And Garcia was never warned, so he did that out of frustration. It was a bad move, but a really, really fun fight. And I really hope the casual fan got their eyes open and are pumped for the other big-time fighters in or around that weight division.
I'll back up Covino. He's a huge fight fan. I'm a fight fan, not as much as Covino, but this
I just grew up with it, so
this was
I love it.
a fantastic weekend fight to watch. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Again, your thoughts. We got the phones lit. We'll take some of your feedback. Now, I don't know if this was telling. I saw it after the fact. I don't know if it would have swayed my possible wagering. But before the fight, one of our legendary friends, Mike Tyson went into the locker room of both fighters. He went into Devin Haney's locker room, and Devin Haney seems like such a nice man. He's like, hey, Iron Mike, good to see you, man. Shook his hand and was all like subdued. He went into Ryan Garcia's locker room. Ryan Garcia was like, yo, Iron Mike, my dude, I'm going to be at your fight against Jake Paul. You're here. I'm with you in spirit. You're my soul brother. I love you. Mike Tyson, I'm Ryan Garcia. Yo. And he was like.
And you know what Tyson said after that? He said that.
Going into the fight, he thought it was Haney.
Going into the fight, I thought Devin Haney was going to be the undisputed champion, but after feeling the energy of Ryan Garcia, like my whole opinion changed, and I knew Ryan Garcia had it. Something about Ryan's energy in that moment, he seemed more focused and pumped and in the moment than Haney, according to Iron Mike. But the stars were out. That was the other thing. Holyfield, Tyson, Roy Jones Jr.
It was cool.
It was cool to see.